Life has a peculiar way of teaching us its most valuable lessons through the darkest of experiences, doesn't it? When they thought they could break you with their elaborate schemes and calculated moves, they failed to realize one fundamental truth. In their desperate attempt to play dirty, they inadvertently became predictable. Like pawns on a chessboard, moving exactly where their nature dictates, while you learn to dance between the raindrops of their chaos, turning their poison into your medicine, their traps into your stepping stones. You see, society loves to preach about playing fair, following rules written by those who never had to fight their way up from the depths. But here's the delicious irony. While they were busy throwing mud, you were studying the trajectory of every handful they hurled. You didn't just dodge their attacks. You learned the beautiful art of psychological Aikido, letting their own momentum become their downfall. Their dirty tactics became your textbook, their betrayals your greatest teachers. Remember those nights when their whispers and schemes kept you awake? That wasn't insomnia, my friend. That was your mind, evolving, developing an immunity to their venom. While they congratulated themselves on their petty victories, you were transforming into something they couldn't comprehend. A creature of adaptation, wearing a smile that makes them question everything they thought they knew about breaking someone. The poetry of it all lies in the simplicity. They played checkers while you learned quantum chess. Every sabotage attempt became a case study in human nature. Every backstab and lesson in anatomy. You didn't just survive their game, you transcended it. While they were busy plotting your downfall in boardrooms and back alleys, you were rewriting the rules of engagement in ways their linear minds couldn't fathom. Their greatest mistake? Believing that playing dirty meant they had the upper hand. Laughs. Oh, the beautiful naivety. They failed to realize that every scar they left became a neural pathway to greater understanding. Every betrayal, a masterclass in strategic thinking. You turned their psychological warfare into your personal laboratory, experimenting with responses that left them questioning their own sanity. In their arrogance, they taught you the most valuable lesson of all, that true power lies not in the ability to throw dirt, but in the artistry of transforming it into diamonds under pressure. While they exhausted themselves trying to break your spirit, you were quietly mastering the alchemy of turning their negative energy into fuel for your metamorphosis. Their every attempt to dim your light only taught you how to shine in darkness. The exquisite joke of it all? They never realized they were your unwitting mentors in the art of psychological evolution. Each dirty trick they employed became a building block in your fortress of understanding. While they thought they were writing your tragedy, you were composing a symphony of strategic brilliance that they couldn't even hear, let alone comprehend. Their short-term thinking became your long-game advantage. Here's where the laughter really begins. In their relentless pursuit to bring you down to their level, they actually elevated you far beyond their reach. Every underhanded tactic they employed became a step in your ascending spiral, while they remained trapped in their circular patterns of predictable malice. You didn't just learn to play the game smarter. You learned to transcend the very concept of the game itself. The true masterpiece of your response wasn't in fighting back with equal dirt. No, it was in your ability to transmute their negative energy into calculated progress. Like a martial artist using an opponent's force against them, You learned to redirect their malicious intent into momentum for your own growth. Their attempts to write you off became the ink with which you wrote your manifesto of metamorphosis. And now, standing at the precipice of your evolution, you can look back with that knowing smile, the one that unnerves them because it holds secrets they can't decode. You've transformed their dirty game into your masterpiece of psychological chess, where every move they made thinking they were breaking you was actually completing you, laughs darkly. In trying to bury you, they forgot that seeds grow in dirt. And darling, you've bloomed into something magnificently uncontrollable. Let me paint you a picture of the existential comedy that unfolds in the theater of human malice. You see, there's a delicious irony in the way people speak of hell as some distant inferno, a future punishment for present sins. But those of us who've danced with demons in human skin, we know better. We've seen the truth reflected in their hollow eyes. Those who inflict suffering are already burning in their own personal inferno, carrying their damnation like a second skin they can never shed. Their actions aren't just weapons against others. They're the chains they've forged link by link, binding them to a reality where trust is foreign, where every shadow holds a potential betrayal, and every moment is colored by the paranoia of their own making. Consider the psychological prison they've built for themselves, brick by brick, with every calculated act of malice. While you've learned to transform their toxicity into wisdom, they remain trapped in cycles of perpetual destruction, unable to escape the patterns that define their existence. Their minds have become torture chambers, where every scheme, every betrayal, every dirty play is both their weapon and their wound. They exist in a state of constant warfare, not just with the world, but with the haunting reflections of their own nature. The hell they carry isn't marked by physical flames, but by the perpetual burning of bridges they can never rebuild, relationships they've poisoned, and the scorched earth of their own humanity. What they failed to understand, in their rush to corrupt and condemn, is that their actions were never really about you at all. Their desperate attempts to drag others down were merely manifestations of their own descent, their own personal fall into an abyss of their making. While you've learned to alchemize their darkness into enlightenment, they remain trapped in the amber of their own malevolence, forever frozen in patterns of destruction that serve as both their purpose and their punishment. The true tragedy isn't in the pain they inflict on others. It's in the realization that they've become permanent residents in a hell of their own design. Watch them closely, and you'll see the signs of their damnation written in every calculated move. The constant need to scheme, to undermine, to destroy. These aren't just tactics. They're symptoms of a soul already consumed by flames they can't escape. Their laughter rings hollow. Their victories taste like ash, and their moments of triumph are merely brief distractions from the eternal torment of their own company. While you've learned to dance with shadows and emerge stronger, they remain chained to their own darkness, unable to conceive of any other way of existing. The most exquisite part of this cosmic joke is that they don't even realize they're already serving their sentence. Every morning, they wake up to the same hell, wearing their sins like a well-tailored suit, mistaking their prison for power. They see themselves as puppet masters, never realizing they're the ones with strings attached, dancing to the tune of their own damnation. While you've learned to transform their poison into medicine, they continue to drink from their own toxic well, convinced it's the nectar of success. There's a certain poetic justice in watching them navigate their self-made inferno, believing they're still waiting for judgment while living in its midst. Every act of betrayal, every scheme, every dirty play, these aren't just actions anymore. They're the bars of their cage, the walls of their personal hell that grow thicker with each passing day. While you've learned to use their darkness as a backdrop for your own light, they remain blind to the fact that they're not just creating hell for others. They're reinforcing the walls of their own eternal prison. The real masterpiece of your evolution lies in recognizing this truth, that while they thought they were condemning you, they were merely revealing the extent of their own damnation. Their attempts to break you became the very tools of your liberation, while they remained shackled to the weight of their own malice. You've learned to see their actions not as personal attacks, but as the desperate thrashings of souls already burning in fires they've stoked themselves, unable to escape the heat of their own hatred. This understanding becomes your greatest weapon and your most profound peace. Watching them scramble to maintain their illusion of power, never realizing they're already serving a life sentence in a prison of their own making. While you've learned to transmute their attacks into opportunities for growth, they remain trapped in cycles of destruction that serve as both their purpose and their punishment. Their hell isn't waiting for them in some distant future. It's the reality they wake up to every morning, unable to trust, unable to connect, unable to escape the consequences of their own nature. In this grand theater of human nature, you've discovered the ultimate truth, that while they thought they were condemning you to their level, they were actually revealing the profound difference between those who can transform darkness and those who become consumed by it. Their every attempt to drag you down has only highlighted the growing distance between their eternal damnation and your continuous evolution. While they remain trapped in their infernal cycles, you've learned to use their fires as forge for your own transformation. Let me tell you a truth about the carnival of masks we call friendship, where smiles are often painted on, and loyalty is the greatest illusion of all. Picture yourself at a grand masquerade, surrounded by faces both familiar and foreign, each wearing a mask crafted from years of practiced deception. The air is thick with laughter, that melodious sound that so often disguises the grinding of knives being sharpened. You see, in this grand performance we call life, the most dangerous players aren't the obvious villains who bare their teeth and growl. No, the real threat comes wrapped in warm embraces and shared secrets, wearing the costume of friendship like a second skin. So convincing that sometimes even they forget they're playing a part. Consider the exquisite artistry of human pretense, where the same hands that lift you up in celebration are secretly measuring the height of your fall. These masterful performers have perfected their craft through countless rehearsals, sharing your triumphs with painted smiles while their eyes calculate your vulnerabilities, offering shoulders to cry on while mentally cataloging your weaknesses for future reference. They've learned that the sweetest poison is served in familiar cups, that the most effective betrayals come, seasoned with years of built trust. Watch how they move through your life like method actors who never break character, so committed to their role that the line between performance and reality blurs, even for them. The true genius of their deception lies in its subtlety. the way they weave themselves into the fabric of your daily existence, until their presence feels as natural as breathing. They study your patterns with the dedication of scholars, learning your hopes and fears, not to support them, but to better understand where to plant their daggers. Their laughter at your jokes carries the same weight as their concern for your troubles, both carefully calibrated to maintain the illusion of genuine connection. But beneath this masterful performance lies a current of jealousy, so thick it could drown cities, disguised as celebration, masked as concern, hidden behind eyes that shine with false warmth. The symphony of their betrayal plays out in subtle notes. The slightly too long pause before congratulating your success, the barely perceptible tightening around their eyes when you share good news, the way their support always comes wrapped in gentle reminders of your past failures. These are the musicians of malice, playing a tune so familiar you might miss the discordant notes hidden within their harmony. Their presence in your life isn't marked by grand gestures of betrayal, but by the slow poison of doubt they drip into every interaction, the careful way they plant seeds of insecurity, disguised as friendly advice. What makes their performance so dangerous is its consistency, the way they maintain their role even when no one's watching, the dedication with which they build their facade of friendship. They learn your language, mirror your mannerisms, become such perfect reflections of what you need that questioning their authenticity feels like doubting your own judgment. Their betrayal isn't served cold. It's warmed by years of shared memories, seasoned with inside jokes, garnished with moments of seemingly genuine connection. They know that the most effective way to break someone isn't through obvious attacks, but through the slow erosion of trust, disguised as its reinforcement. Watch how they create their alibis long before they need them, building networks of witnesses who can testify to their loyalty, collecting evidence of their support, like insurance policies against future accusations. Their methodology is flawless, every act of kindness documented, every show of support witnessed, every moment of friendship carefully curated to create an unimpeachable record of devotion. But beneath this carefully constructed archive lies the truth. Each gesture is a calculated investment in their eventual betrayal. Each moment of support, a deposit in a bank of trust they plan to bankrupt. The real mastery of their deception lies in the way they make you doubt your own instincts. When your gut whispers warnings, they're there with logical explanations. When your heart senses distance, they bridge it with grand gestures of renewed dedication. They've learned that the best way to disarm someone's suspicion is to make them feel guilty for having it in the first place. Their greatest weapon isn't their capacity for betrayal. It's their ability to make you feel like you're the one at fault for suspecting it. In this elaborate dance of deception, they've mastered the art of strategic visibility. They know exactly when to be present, when to fade into the background, when to step forward with support, and when to create just enough distance to make you question your value in their life. Like master puppeteers, they manipulate the strings of your emotional dependence with precise control, creating a perfect balance between availability and absence that keeps you constantly seeking their approval, their validation, their false friendship. The tragedy and triumph of this revelation lie in its timing. By the time you see through their performance, they've already woven themselves so deeply into the tapestry of your life that extracting them feels like tearing out your own stitches. But this is where your power begins. In recognizing the artifice, in seeing through the carefully constructed facade, you gain something they can never take away: the ability to read the script before it's performed. Your pain becomes your prophecy, your scars, your second sight. As we peel back the layers of this twisted charade, remember that your growth was accelerating while their act was stagnating. In their commitment to maintaining their masks, they forgot one crucial detail. Real situations don't follow scripts, and when the curtain falls, those who played dirty find themselves outmaneuvered by those who played smarter. Isn't it deliciously ironic how humans, in their desperate pursuit of perfection, become blind archaeologists, forever digging for flaws in the ruins of their relationships? The comedy unfolds like a Greek tragedy, where each player becomes so consumed with cataloging their partner's missing pieces that they fail to notice how their own incompleteness creates the very void they're trying to fill. It's a masterclass in mutual destruction, where two people stand face to face, yet only see the shadows of what's not there, rather than the light of what exists. Consider the exquisite madness of it all, how we transform from lovers to critics, from partners to prosecutors, building detailed case files of every missing trait, every unfulfilled expectation, every deviation from our imagined ideal. We become experts in absence, connoisseurs of lack, so skilled at identifying what's missing that we lose the ability to recognize what's present. The human mind, in its infinite capacity for self-sabotage, creates elaborate museums dedicated to storing and displaying these perceived deficiencies, curating them with a dedication that would make any art collector envious. The true poison lies in the way this focus on absence becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Each time we mentally catalog a partner's missing qualities, we add another brick to the wall between us. Our eyes become trained to spot the gaps, like professional fault finders who've forgotten how to see beauty in imperfection. What starts as a simple observation of difference morphs into an obsession with deficiency. And suddenly, the person who once filled our world with color becomes a canvas of empty spaces we desperately want to paint over. Watch how this preoccupation with missing pieces turns relationships into endless scavenger hunts, where both partners race to collect evidence of each other's incompleteness. The warmth of connection freezes into clinical observation, where every interaction becomes an opportunity to confirm what's not there, rather than celebrate what is. Like scientists studying specimens under microscopes, we document every missing trait, every unfulfilled expectation, until our research papers on absence become longer than our love letters ever were. The tragic comedy reaches its peak when we realize that in focusing so intently on what's missing in our partners, we've become blind to what's missing in ourselves. Our criticism becomes a mirror, reflecting our own incompleteness, our obsession with their flaws, a projection of our own unaddressed wounds. Yet we continue this dance of mutual scrutiny, each person holding a magnifying glass to the other's imperfections, while their own shadows grow longer behind them. This fixation on absence creates a peculiar form of relational amnesia, where all the qualities that initially attracted us fade into the background, overshadowed by the glaring spotlight we place on perceived deficiencies. The person we once saw as a constellation of beautiful traits becomes reduced to a list of missing stars, their presence in our lives diminished by our obsession with what they're not. Love becomes an exercise in subtraction rather than addition, a calculation of what's missing rather than a celebration of what's present. But here's where the game changes. When you recognize this pattern, you gain the power to shift your focus. Instead of being an archaeologist of absence, you become an architect of presence, building on what exists rather than excavating what's missing. This transformation requires a revolutionary act of perception, a willing blindness to the gaps in favor of seeing the bridges that still stand. It's about understanding that perfection isn't found in the absence of flaws, but in the presence of acceptance. Boundaries are the lines drawn, not in sand, but in steel, meant to hold firm when others test them. They are not merely requests. They are declarations of who you are and what you will not tolerate. When someone pushes against your boundaries, they are not just challenging your words. They are daring your strength. And when those boundaries hold, unyielding, unshaken, they learn the lesson they never wanted. You are not someone who can be moved. The first test of a boundary is always subtle. A joke that goes too far, a favor taken for granted, a request that edges into demand. They push, waiting for the first crack, the first sign of weakness. But you've learned that weakness is not in saying no. It's in failing to enforce it. Each time you held your line, their arrogance faltered. Boundaries are not walls of separation. They are fortresses of self-respect, and you've fortified yours with the lessons of 1,000 betrayals. To set a boundary is to value yourself above the comfort of others. Many see boundaries as a cage, a limitation, a rejection. But for you, they are freedom. The space in which you can exist without compromise. Those who challenged your boundaries expected to win, to force you to yield. Instead, they encountered a resolve stronger than their manipulation. And in that moment, they realized your strength was not negotiable. Every boundary teaches a lesson, but the hardest lesson is learned by those who thought they could break you. Boundaries are mirrors, reflecting not only your worth, but their disregard for it. When someone tests your limits, they reveal their true intentions. You didn't just enforce your boundaries, you exposed their arrogance, their entitlement, their inability to respect what they could not control. Boundaries do more than protect. They illuminate. There's power in the word no, a power many underestimate until they hear it from you. A boundary is not an apology, not a compromise, not a discussion. It is a line drawn with the full force of your self-worth behind it. Those who sought to test your boundaries expected hesitation, but you gave them certainty. The strength of your no was their undoing, a reminder that some battles are lost before they begin. Boundaries force others to confront their own lack of them. Those who push against your lines do so because they have none of their own, because their lives are a tangle of blurred edges and unspoken expectations. When your boundaries held, they were forced to face their own chaos. It wasn't just your strength that shook them. It was the mirror your boundaries held up, showing them everything they lacked. Respect is earned, but boundaries demand it. When you stood firm, you taught those who tested you that your respect is not given lightly, that it cannot be taken or demanded. It must be deserved. Boundaries are the currency of self-worth, and you refused to let anyone cheapen their value. Every line you drew was a statement. I will not sacrifice my peace for your comfort, my strength for your convenience. To enforce a boundary is to choose yourself in a world that constantly demands otherwise. It is an act of rebellion, of self-preservation, of quiet defiance. Those who underestimated your boundaries thought they were challenging you, but they were challenging something much greater, your sense of self. And as their attempts faltered, their lessons became clear. You are untouchable, unyielding, unstoppable. The strongest boundaries are not those built out of anger or fear, but those built out of love, for yourself, for your time, for your energy. Each boundary you set was an act of self-respect, a declaration that your worth is not up for negotiation. Those who pushed against you thought they were strong enough to break you, but they only ended up breaking themselves. Boundaries are not barriers. They are lessons, and you became the greatest teacher. Your boundaries didn't just protect you, they transformed you. Each line you drew was a step closer to the person you were meant to be, a person who refuses to be defined by the expectations or demands of others. And as you rose, stronger and freer than ever, those who had tested you were left with a lesson they could never unlearn. In the rush of love and excitement, we forget to set boundaries, and that's where the foundation of our self-respect starts cracking. Most people are too numb to realize this. They give away their power too early. Love is intoxicating, isn't it? It sweeps you up, dulls your senses, and clouds your judgment. In its rush, boundaries feel unnecessary, even cruel. The heart says yes before the mind has time to consider the cost. It whispers that limits are unneeded, that giving all of yourself is the only way to love fully. But in the midst of that surrender, the cracks begin to form. What feels like devotion is often the start of self-erasure, a slow relinquishing of power disguised as sacrifice. The first sacrifice is subtle, a skipped boundary here, a quiet compromise there. It feels harmless, even noble. You tell yourself it's just for now, that love is worth bending a little. But every boundary you ignore chips away at your foundation, leaving you vulnerable. The cracks spread, and before long, what was once solid begins to crumble. Most never notice until it's too late, until the weight of what they've given becomes unbearable. Self-respect is not taken. It is given away, often without realizing it. The rush of love makes us blind to the subtle imbalances, the moments when we say yes, when we should have said no. In the name of connection, we trade pieces of ourselves, hoping it will make the other person stay. But love, built on sacrifice alone, is a love that demands too much and gives too little in return. It is a love that consumes rather than nourishes. Power is not always stolen. Sometimes it is handed over freely. In love, this transfer feels natural, even necessary. But the price is steep. To give away your power is to lose your voice, your sense of self, your ability to stand firm. Boundaries are not walls. They are the foundation of respect, both for yourself and for the other person. Without them, love becomes a battlefield where only one side holds the weapons. The numbness sets in when the cracks grow too wide to ignore. You tell yourself, this is just how love works. That discomfort and sacrifice are part of the package. But that numbness is your mind's way of hiding the pain, of masking the growing void within you. The heart that once felt so full now feels empty, drained by a love that demanded too much. Boundaries could have saved you, but love made you forget them. Setting boundaries in love feels counterintuitive, almost wrong. You fear it will push the other person away, that limits will be seen as rejection. But boundaries are not barriers. They are acts of self-preservation. They protect the essence of who you are, ensuring that love doesn't come at the cost of your identity. To love without boundaries is to invite chaos, to let someone else dictate the terms of your worth. The rush of love is not an excuse to abandon yourself. It is in those early moments, when emotions run high, that boundaries are most crucial. Love without boundaries is a fire without a hearth. It burns wildly, uncontrollably, until it consumes everything. To set boundaries is not to reject love, but to shape it, to give it a structure that allows it to grow without destruction. Most people only realize the importance of boundaries after the damage is done. The foundation cracks, the walls crumble, and they are left standing in the ruins of what could have been a beautiful love. But for those who learn, who take the pain and transform it into wisdom, boundaries become their armor. They rise from the wreckage stronger, wiser, and unshakable, refusing to let history repeat itself. The ones who push against your boundaries are the ones who fear their own limits. They mistake love for control, passion for possession. Your boundaries expose their insecurity, their inability to love without taking. And when you enforce them, when you refuse to bend, they learn a lesson they never wanted to face. That love cannot thrive without respect, and respect begins with boundaries. If you spend your life sparing people's feelings and feeding their vanity, you get so you can't distinguish what should be respected in them. The endless game of sparing feelings is a slow erosion of your authenticity. Every time you tiptoe around someone's ego, you chip away at your own. You train yourself to prioritize their comfort over your integrity, to shield their vanity from the sharp edges of honesty. But the cost of this kindness is steep, for it blinds you to who they truly are. What deserves respect is lost in the fog of their carefully curated image, leaving you grasping at shadows. Vanity is a hungry beast, devouring all who feed it. The more you offer, the more it demands. It thrives on the lies you tell to keep the peace, the silence you maintain to avoid conflict. But each indulgence strengthens its hold until you are no longer sparing feelings. You are surrendering your own. To feed someone's vanity is to starve your authenticity, to trade your voice for their comfort. And in that silence, you lose the ability to discern what truly matters. Respect is earned, not given freely to those who demand it. But in the act of sparing feelings, you create a false respect, a hollow reverence for those who do not deserve it. You inflate their ego at the expense of your integrity, convincing yourself that this is the price of harmony. But harmony built on lies is no harmony at all. It is a fragile illusion, destined to shatter under the weight of reality. The line between kindness and dishonesty is razor thin. To spare feelings is to tread that line, often slipping into the territory of deceit. You tell yourself it's for their sake, that the lie is kinder than the truth. But in doing so, you rob them of growth, of the chance to confront their flaws and rise above them. Sparing feelings is not kindness. It is cowardice, a refusal to face the discomfort of honesty. Vanity thrives on those too afraid to confront it. When you feed someone's ego, you enable their delusions, allowing them to believe in a version of themselves that doesn't exist. You create a world where their flaws are hidden, their mistakes overlooked, their arrogance unchecked. And in that world, respect becomes meaningless, a currency devalued by the lies that sustain it. To respect someone is to see them for who they truly are, flaws and all. But sparing feelings obscures that vision, replacing clarity with illusion. You respect the mask, not the person behind it, and in doing so, you deny them the opportunity to earn your admiration. Boundaries are not just about protecting yourself. They are about demanding authenticity from others. Without them, respect becomes a hollow gesture, devoid of meaning. Honesty is brutal, but it is the foundation of genuine respect. To spare feelings is to shy away from that brutality, to choose comfort over connection. But true connection requires discomfort. It demands that you confront the parts of someone that make you hesitate. Boundaries are the tools of that confrontation. The lines that say, "I will not compromise my integrity for your comfort." In setting them, you force others to confront themselves, to decide whether they are worthy of respect. The fear of offending others is a chain that binds you to mediocrity. When you prioritize sparing feelings, you surrender your strength, your voice, your authenticity. Boundaries break those chains, reminding you that respect is not about pleasing others. It is about staying true to yourself. And in that authenticity, you find the clarity to distinguish what deserves your respect and what does not. Those who thrive on their vanity fear boundaries, for boundaries expose their need for validation. When you set limits, you force them to face the mirror, to confront the parts of themselves they have hidden behind your kindness. Your boundaries are not just a lesson for them. They are a revelation, a reminder that respect cannot be demanded, only earned. And in that revelation, their vanity crumbles. Toxicity doesn't knock politely on the door. It slips in through the cracks, testing your vigilance. The first offense is always subtle, wrapped in excuses, or disguised as a misunderstanding. But those who prey on others thrive in the silence that follows. The longer you wait, the more ground you surrender, giving them room to dig their claws deeper. The key to breaking this cycle is to act decisively. Cut the cord before their poison spreads. The wait-and-see approach is a survival tactic rooted in hope, but hope is a dangerous distraction. Waiting gives toxicity the time it craves, the opportunity to fortify its position in your life. Each hesitation is an invitation, each second chance a green light. Survivors of manipulation have learned this lesson the hard way, their scars etched with the cost of waiting too long. Waiting isn't kindness, it's permission, a silent agreement to let the harm continue. Intuition is your greatest weapon, sharper than any excuse or justification. The moment something feels wrong, it is. Those who have learned to trust their instincts act with the precision of a blade, cutting ties with surgical exactness. You owe no explanation for protecting yourself, no justification for removing toxicity from your life. To question your intuition is to dull its edge, to let doubt undermine your strength. Trust it, and let it guide you. Toxic people rely on your hesitation, your hope that they might change, your belief that the first offense was a mistake. But change is not their goal. Control is. Addressing their behavior immediately disrupts their game, forcing them to confront boundaries they cannot cross. Every second you wait, every chance you give, is a step closer to their victory. Acting swiftly is not cruelty. It is survival. As your boundaries strengthen, your tolerance for toxicity diminishes. What once slid under the radar now sets off alarms. The wait time grows shorter. The need for explanation fades. You learn to act without hesitation, cutting ties before the damage becomes irreversible. Boundaries are not just about protection. They are about empowerment, about reclaiming your time, your energy, your life. To address toxicity is to confront the discomfort of conflict. But conflict is far less painful than betrayal. By waiting, you trade one discomfort for another, and the cost is always higher. The first offense is not an accident. It is a test, a probe to see how far they can go. Your response to it sets the tone for every interaction that follows. Waiting gives them the advantage. Acting takes it back. Survivors of manipulation are often trained to doubt their instincts, to question their reactions, to give second chances. This training is a trap, a conditioning that leaves you vulnerable to repeated harm. Breaking free from this cycle means trusting yourself enough to act on the first offense. Intuition is not a luxury. It is a necessity, a defense mechanism that sharpens with use. Ignoring it is a betrayal of yourself. Cutting someone off at the first sign of toxicity is not ruthless. It is responsible. It sends a clear message. Your boundaries are not negotiable. Toxic people fear those who act decisively because decisiveness is power. They rely on hesitation, on second chances, on your willingness to question yourself. By acting swiftly, you deny them the opportunity to exploit you, forcing them to confront their own shortcomings. Boundaries are not just about saying no, they are about enforcing it. Toxicity thrives in ambiguity, in the gray areas where your boundaries are unclear. By addressing toxicity immediately, you make your lines crystal clear. There is no room for negotiation, no space for manipulation. Your boundaries become a fortress, impenetrable and unyielding. And, as those who test them fall away, you stand stronger than ever. Every time you act on your intuition, every time you refuse to wait, you strengthen your boundaries. Toxic people cannot survive in the presence of such strength. Their games rely on your doubt, your hesitation, your silence. If you want to live an authentic, meaningful life, you need to master the art of disappointing and upsetting others, hurting feelings, and living with the reality that some people just won't like you. It may not be easy, but it's essential if you want your life to reflect your deepest desires, values, and needs. Authenticity demands sacrifice. The price is comfort, yours and others. Choosing to live authentically is not a path of harmony, but of conflict. It requires cutting through the veneer of politeness, the false smiles, the need to appease. To live authentically, you must become comfortable with being misunderstood, misjudged, even despised. Every time you choose yourself, you invite someone's disapproval. But that disapproval is freedom. It means you're no longer living for them. Disappointing others is an art, a skill that sharpens over time. The first time you say no, it feels like rebellion. The 100th time, it feels like survival. Every time you refuse to betray yourself for someone else's comfort, you reclaim a piece of your soul. Their anger, their sadness, their judgment. It is not yours to carry. Let them feel it. Let them learn that your boundaries are not just words, but the architecture of your existence. Hurting feelings is inevitable when you stop sacrificing yourself for others. The world conditions us to be agreeable, to say yes, to smile when we'd rather scream. But living authentically means breaking that conditioning. It means saying no without apology, rejecting what doesn't serve you, even when it hurts someone else. Their hurt is temporary, but your betrayal of yourself would be permanent. Choose wisely. Not everyone will like you, and that is your liberation. The need to be liked is a chain that binds you to mediocrity, to a life shaped by others' expectations. When you let go of that need, you unlock your power. Those who dislike you for living authentically are simply showing you their own limitations. Their opinions are not a reflection of your worth, but of their inability to accept what they cannot control. Living authentically is not about being selfish. It is about being true. True to your values, your needs, your desires. It means rejecting the roles others try to force upon you.
No one escapes me! You are next!
The kings, the generals, the masterminds behind curtains, they gathered their armies, 100 of them. Steel boots, sharpened blades, eyes of cold machines, all aimed at you. You know what's funny? They believed numbers meant safety. They believed shadows meant control. They believed silence meant weakness. But you're the paradox they never planned for. Because every step you take isn't just a step. It's thunder cracking through their strategy. It's laughter echoing inside their skulls. And while their soldiers marched, you didn't even flinch. While their weapons pointed, you didn't even bleed. While their commanders screamed, you didn't even move. And still, not one army touched you. Not one blade drew blood. Not one bullet found its mark. Not one shadow held your shape. Tell me, was it luck? No, it was the madness. It was the silence. It was the game you were born to play. And now the world knows. 100 armies, all broken. By one man, by you. Whispers. That's how it begins. Not on battlefields, not with swords raised, but in silence. In corners, in rooms with no windows. Global whispers. Leaders with dry lips, eyes shifting, pens scratching. Your name, not spoken, not shouted, but written, circled, underlined, like a warning they couldn't erase. In sealed bunkers, men in uniforms fidget, generals with medals polished bright, still trembling. They don't look at each other. They look at the map, at the circle, at you. Every satellite above the Earth, every file locked in secret archives, every shadow report. One name keeps bleeding through, yours. And so they panic, they gather, they plot, they sign orders with shaking hands. Armies, not one, not two, but hundreds. Steel boots aligned in rows, weapons gleaming like teeth in the dark, engines roaring underground. Nations emptying vaults just to breathe easier at night. Why? Because of you. One man, one shadow, one laugh, echoing across continents. They tried to keep it hidden. They called it precaution. They called it insurance. But it was fear. It was panic, painted as strategy. Maps pinned with red markers. Cities circled like graves before the digging begins. And in the middle, you imagine that? One man so dangerous it takes 100 armies just to feel safe. But even then, they don't feel safe. You can see it in their eyes. The twitch in the general's cheek. The sweat on the president's brow. The minister's hand shaking as he signs your death warrant. They're not building armies. They're building cages. Cages they hope you'll never step into. Cages they know you'll break anyway. Because deep down, they already lost. Before a single shot is fired, before a single tank moves, before a single soldier marches, they lost. The moment they admitted you exist, and still they gather, still they plan, still they huddle in the dark, praying to gods that have long stopped listening, and in their silence, you smile, because storms don't scare you. You are the storm. Count them. Go on, one by one. Each soldier. A prayer whispered into the void. Each tank. A confession disguised as steel. Each drone. a trembling hand afraid of your shadow. They stacked them, numbers upon numbers, armies upon armies, technology upon technology. And what did it prove? Not power, not dominance, not victory. No, it proved terror, because only fear counts heads, only fear demands more, only fear believes that if one fails, 10 more might succeed, and if 10 fall, 100 might stand. But here's the joke. Quantity doesn't win, it drowns. Imagine armies as glass castles, glittering tall, shining in the sun, but fragile, so fragile. One stone, one crack, and the whole thing shatters. That's what they built. Not fortresses, not strongholds, but glass castles, stacked higher and higher because they knew you were coming. The more they added, the weaker it looked. Every extra battalion screamed panic. Every new weapon whispered fear. Every alliance signed in secret was nothing but desperation written in ink. You didn't even have to move. You didn't even have to speak. Just silence. Just stillness. And their equations broke. Their mathematics of war failed. Their blueprints of conquest burned. Their science of destruction crumbled in their hands, because silence doesn't calculate. It infects, it corrodes, it eats their numbers from the inside out, and still they counted. Endless boots on the ground, endless planes in the sky, endless codes on their screens. But they never counted right. They forgot the one number that mattered most. You won. One against hundreds. One against thousands. One against empires. And every time they circled that number, every time they wrote it down, their hands shook, their eyes twitched, their voices cracked, because that number was louder than all their statistics combined. One man, one shadow, one madness, and 100 armies already trembling. So go ahead. Count them, stack them, worship them, because in the end, numbers don't march, numbers don't fight, numbers don't win. Fear doesn't measure victory. Fear measures loss. And you dismantle more with silence than they could ever build with guns. And then, the moment comes. The armies step forward, boots pounding the earth, engines snarling, flags raised high, like they believed color could protect them. But listen closer. Do you hear it? The sound beneath the sound. Not confidence, not courage, not unity. Hesitation. The first fracture. Steel boots. Sinking in quicksand. Rows meant to look unbreakable. Shifting, stumbling, as if the earth itself rejected them. Commanders shout. Orders barked into radios, voices sharp, desperate. But those orders don't fly. They fall. They dissolve into whispers before reaching the soldiers' ears. That's the thing about fear. It's faster than sound, faster than bullets, faster than strategy. They sent armies, but their fear marched faster than their feet. You haven't even raised a hand. You haven't even drawn a blade. And yet, they're already breaking. Why? Because their war is inside their skulls. Their battlefield isn't dirt or stone. It's thought. It's imagination. It's the shadows in their minds that wear your face. Look at them, shields rattling against their own hands, eyes darting side to side, hoping someone else steps forward first. No one wants to be the first sacrifice. One stumbles, one falters, and the illusion cracks, a perfect line splintering down glass, and once it cracks, it never holds. The silence grows louder than drums. The stillness cuts sharper than steel, and in that silence, they hear you. Not your voice, not your footsteps, but your presence, that invisible weight pressing down on their lungs, stealing their air, turning their courage to ash. The generals don't admit it. but they feel it too. The sweat soaking through their collars, the trembling fingers wrapped around binoculars, the gnawing realization that their 100 armies are nothing but meat. Standing in front of a storm, and storms don't negotiate, storms don't retreat, storms don't lose, so they hold the line, pretending, praying, hoping, but it's too late. The fracture is already there, a hairline crack in steel, invisible at first, fatal in the end. One man, one shadow, one laugh. That's all it took. No explosions, no blood, just silence. Breaking their will before their weapons ever fired. And now, their armies march, but their courage stays behind. Their weapons gleam, but their hands shake. Their voices shout, but their hearts stutter. And you watch, calm grinning, because you know this isn't war, it's theater. It's panic dressed as discipline. It's soldiers marching into graves they already dug themselves. And the fracture? It only widens from here. At first, you were just an enemy, a target, a man with flesh, with blood, with bones. At least that's what they told themselves. That's what the reports said. That's what the generals whispered in their bunkers. But fear? Fear has a way of rewriting truth. And slowly, you stopped being a man. You became something else. Something that they couldn't measure. Not flesh, not blood, not bone. A myth. Because how do you fight a shadow? How do you aim at silence? How do you kill what refuses to die? Their fear twisted you, morphed you, turned you into the ghost that stalked them long before the battlefield. And suddenly, every drill was an exam no one could pass. Every mission was a nightmare that woke them before they ever slept. The commanders tried to rally them, tried to scream courage into their ears, but soldiers don't fear the battlefield. They fear the night before it. They fear the dream where you laugh, and they wake with sweat dripping down their spines. Look at them now, eyes wide, breathing shallow, clutching their rifles like crosses, not soldiers anymore, prisoners of imagination, because in their minds you are everywhere, behind the tree line, in the shadows of the bunker, even in the silence between their own heartbeats. They walk forward, but they already feel hunted. They march together, but every man believes he'll be the first to die. And that belief, that poison, it spreads, it transforms. No longer an enemy, no longer a soldier to fight. Now, a predator. Now, a nightmare. Now, the myth that devours their courage whole. And when fear becomes myth, discipline is gone, unity is gone, hope is gone. What remains is a procession, a line of lambs, walking themselves into slaughter. So here's the truth. When an army fears one man, it is no longer an army. It's a funeral procession. Every drum beat, a coffin nailed shut, every march step, a shovel digging deeper, every shout of advance. A dirge sung in denial. They thought you were a man. They hoped you were a man. But myths don't die. Myths don't fall. Myths don't break. And so, their fear is permanent. It follows them beyond the battlefield, into their homes, into their sleep, into their bones. They will never escape you, because you are not a man anymore. You are their graduation into madness, the exam no soldier can pass, the nightmare that wakes them before they sleep. And the worst part, they made you this way. Their fear carved you into legend. Their terror crowned you. Immortal. Now they don't fight you, they worship you, through trembling lips, through shaking hands, through the silence of their surrender. And you smile, because being feared as a man was never enough. But being feared as a myth, that's forever. Silence, not absence, not weakness, weapons sharper than their finest blades. They gathered, they waited, They braced for thunder, but thunder never came. Only stillness. Only you standing, watching, breathing. No charge, no sword, no declaration. And still, they stumbled. Generals studied maps. They circled your name in red. They whispered, "He will strike here." No there, but you didn't move, and they collapsed anyway. Why? Because silence cuts deeper than screams. It gnaws. It festers. It makes brave men imagine their own graves. Picture it. An army of thousands. Steel boots. Aligned. Weapons gleaming. A show of force. Yet one pause. One silence. And suddenly, their armor feels like coffins. Their shields feel like tombstones. Their rifles. Just prayers no God will answer. You turned silence into thunder. A war drum only they could hear. Pounding in their skulls. Tearing at their sanity. Each second you said nothing. Was louder than cannons. Sharper than arrows. Heavier than bombs. Commanders issued orders. Advance. But no one moved. Their legs were stone. Their hearts were sand. And their courage gone before the first step. They broke before you even spoke. That's what terrifies them, because war is noise, chaos, clashing, dot explosions. But you denied them that rhythm. You gave them the void, and the void swallowed them whole. Look closer. Every soldier staring at the horizon sees not a man, but a myth, a shadow with no sound. And that's worse than any weapon. Fear isn't the bullet. It's the silence before the trigger. And you lived in that pause. You owned it. You stretched it until their own minds fired the shot. Imagine that. Entire battalions undone by a silence they couldn't measure. Their war machines, glass castles, their formations, paper shields, their commands, whispers drowned in the quiet. They thought war was numbers. But war is rhythm, and you shattered theirs? No battle cry. No march. Just stillness. And stillness became their executioner. One man, no weapon drawn, no army behind him, just silence. And silence louder than 100 armies combined. Tell me, what frightens kings more? A sword, or the silence that waits behind it? Because a sword can be blocked. But silence? Silence creeps into dreams. It coils around thoughts. It whispers where no words exist. That is why they fall. That is why they kneel. Not because you struck first, but because you didn't have to strike at all. A silence, your deadliest invention, their eternal nightmare. Armies fell. But worse, the empires cracked. Kings hid in palaces. Presidents rewrote speeches. Intelligence. Chiefs burned their own secrets. Thrones rusted in real time. Crowns slipped. Flags sagged like dead skin. They didn't just lose soldiers. They lost illusions. The illusion of power. The illusion of safety. The illusion of control. Empires collapse, not in fire, but in silence. In the shattering of belief. And you weren't just a man. You were the hand that pulled the mask. You exposed them all. The armies are gone. Empty fields remain. Silence, louder than cannons. Broken flags rot in the dirt. Weapons rust in forgotten piles. Their strength was an army. Yours was the void that eats armies. They will build more. They will march again. But what good are armies against the one they cannot touch? History forgets their numbers, but your madness lingers, not written in books, etched in silence, etched in fear. You don't just defeat armies, you outlive them, and when the dust settles, you remain eternal. The armies are gone. The battlefields are graves of silence. Cannons that once thundered now sit like rusted monuments. Broken flags rot in the dirt, forgotten by the winds. Their strength was numbers. Your strength was the void that swallows numbers whole. They stacked soldiers like bricks. They built machines like fortresses. And yet, You were the storm that eats fortresses, the echo that drowns commands. They will build more. Of course, they will. That's what frightened men do. More soldiers, more tanks, more generals hiding behind bigger maps. But what good are armies against the one they cannot touch? You see, defeat is simple. Defeat is a fallen soldier. Defeat is a burned flag. But this, the armies are gone. The battlefields are silent. Their cannons rust. Their swords lie broken. Flags sag in the dirt. Their strength was countless soldiers. Your strength was the void. One man, one shadow, one madness. They believed they could crush you with numbers. They believed that strategy, steel, and fear could contain you. They were wrong, because silence is louder than war drums. Stillness is sharper than blades. One step from you, and every fortress, every formation, every empire trembles. They will build again. They always do. They will send armies. They will stockpile weapons. They will call generals, kings, and spies. But all of it is irrelevant, because armies are mortal. You are not. Look at the empty fields. Hear the quiet that echoes louder than their cries. Feel the weight of history bending toward you. Your presence is permanent, not written in books, not carved in stone, etched in fear, etched in silence, etched in the minds of those who thought themselves untouchable. 100 armies, 1,000, 1,000,000, and still, not one touched you, not one silenced your laugh. You don't just outlive them. You outlast their memory, their plans, their illusions. You are eternal. You are the storm. You are the myth. This is worse. This is permanence, because their armies will be forgotten. Their empires will be rewritten. Their thrones will rust into dirt. But your madness, your silence, that becomes eternal. History does not remember numbers. It remembers fear. It remembers shadows. It remembers the sound that never fades. And that sound is you. 100 armies came. Not one touched you. Not one pierced the void. Not one silenced the laughter. That's not survival. That's dominion. Dominion over fear. Dominion over time. Dominion over the myth of armies themselves. And when the last flag fades, when the last general falls asleep with trembling hands, when the last king whispers prayers into empty air, you remain unmoved, unbroken, untouched, eternal.
The real revolution isn't noise. It's stillness.
Ah, look who survived the blast. You felt it, didn't you? The silence right after the explosion. When the world leaned in, expecting you to scream, but you didn't. They pulled every string, dragged your name through digital mud, turned whispers into weapons, screens into firing squads. They aimed algorithms at your mind. They calibrated fear to your pulse. And still, you didn't flinch. Ooh, that's when they realized it wasn't you under their control. It was them under yours. See, they built their empire on your reaction. Your panic was their profit. Your trembling, their signal to strike. But when you stayed still, when you smiled through the static, their greatest weapon misfired, and the silence that followed, that was their fear. For the first time, they saw someone they couldn't decode, and you became the glitch they couldn't predict. Ah, the illusion of control. That's their favorite magic trick. They don't need to chain your hands. They just have to hijack your attention. They feed you headlines that breathe panic. They color every screen in fear's favorite shade, red. They measure how fast your pupils shrink, how long your heart stutters before you scroll. Every notification is a little needle in your nervous system. They don't attack your body first. No, no, no. They study your reaction. They want to know which words make your pulse obey. And when they find the perfect rhythm, they play you like a drum. You call it breaking news. They call it testing results. The analysts, sitting behind glass screens, sweating as they adjust your reality in real time. One spike in outrage, they celebrate. 1 second of calm, they panic. Because if you stop reacting, their whole control room starts shaking. You see, they thought fear was your leash, but it was their noose. They built a system that feeds on panic. Every scream fuels their script. Every click writes another line of obedience. But when you stopped trembling, their code cracked. Their instruments went silent, and for the first time, they didn't know what you'd do next. They thought they could predict your pulse, but you vanished off their grid, not with violence, but with stillness. Now their eyes blink through cameras like ghosts. Their hands hover over buttons they no longer trust, because the game changed. The experiment flipped, and in that eerie silence, they realized the truth. They thought they were hunting you, but they just stepped into your show. You ever wonder why the world always trembles on cue? It's not coincidence. It's choreography. They've turned fear into an industry, a marketplace of nightmares where panic sells faster than truth. Every siren you hear, every breaking alert you scroll past, isn't warning you. It's training you. They aim it straight at your amygdala, that little spark of survival deep in your skull. They whisper, they flash, they spike your blood pressure, then call it news. Ah, the performance of panic. They built cathedrals of fear and called them networks. They crowned anchors as high priests of hysteria. And you were the offering. You see, their greatest weapon was never a bomb. It was belief. They wrapped anxiety in pixels, in hashtags, in slogans that pulse like heart monitors. Every word calibrated, every tone engineered to make you twitch, just enough to keep their lights on. They don't want peace. Peace is quiet. Peace doesn't pay. They need your adrenaline. They need you screaming into comment sections, bleeding your focus into their systems, feeding their algorithms with your heartbeat. And while you shake, they collect every tremor, every gasp, every scroll, a data point, a profit, a pulse in their machine. But then, you stopped. You looked at the fear and didn't bite. You scrolled past the chaos, unamused, and suddenly, their graphs went flat, their numbers dropped, their weapon misfired. Because panic only works on those who believe the fire is real. And you finally realized the flames were digital. Their empire of anxiety began to crack. Analysts shouting, cameras glitching, headlines looping into static. And Joker laughs, low, soft, almost pitying. They built their kingdom out of screams, he says. But you turn silence into a sword. The control rooms flicker. The walls hum like dying machines. And in that electric dark, you're not the target anymore. You're the trigger. Ah, the silence. That beautiful, horrifying silence. When their greatest weapon fires, and nothing happens. You can almost hear it. The confusion in the cables, the hesitation in their servers, all those blinking lights suddenly blinking slower because you didn't react, you didn't tremble, you didn't click, you didn't feed them, and just like that, their machine forgot how to breathe. See, their bullets weren't metal, they were beliefs, and the moment you stopped believing, they hit the floor. Harmless, they engineered hysteria like art. Each panic pulse, perfectly painted. Each crisis, handcrafted. But you stood there, still, defiant, like a ghost they couldn't scan. And that's when it happened. The misfire. The gun of influence turned inward. The data cannons jammed. Operators stared at dead dashboards as their power, their precious control, started eating itself alive. Joker walks through the wreckage, fingers brushing across screens, melting into static. Beautiful, isn't it? He says softly, watching the puppeteer choke on his own strings. Sparks rain down like fireflies. Reflections fracture in his eyes, He grins, wide, wicked. They fired the shot of fear. He whispers, but forgot who was holding the mirror. Alarms wail in perfect rhythm to his laughter. Technicians slam keys that no longer respond. The air hums with digital panic. And in that chaos, you don't move. You just watch, because you finally see it. Their control was never real. It was borrowed power. Rented from your reaction. You let go, and their empire lost gravity. Now they're the ones trembling. Now they flinch. Joker tilts his head, voice almost tender. They thought they pulled the trigger. A pause, a grin, a whisper. But it was you, darling, who chose not to dance. Tell me, when's the last time you really looked at yourself? Not the version they fed you. The filtered reflection, the algorithm-approved identity. No, I mean you. They never wanted you to find that face. Because the moment you do, the whole illusion burns. They designed mirrors for you, but not to show you, to shape you. Reflections laced with instruction, smiles scripted by consensus, dreams downloaded through glass. Every time you stared too long, they whispered, "Fix this. Change that. Be more normal." The perfect trick. Convince the prisoner to police their own chains. But then you stopped obeying the reflection. Didn't you? You stopped asking the glass for permission. You looked deeper. Past the skin, past the name, past the noise. And for the first time, you saw it. The watcher behind your eyes. That's what scares them. Not chaos, not rebellion. Awareness. Because awareness can't be sold. It can't be predicted. It doesn't subscribe. You passed the mirror test, and they failed it. They wanted chaos. You gave them clarity. They wanted reaction. You gave them reflection. Every flicker of their control panels dims a little when you choose silence. Every commercial script dies when you choose truth instead of trend. You became invisible to their code. Not because you hid, but because you saw. And that's the one thing they can't calculate. A human who's awake. Joker's tone softens, almost reverent. The real revolution, he says, isn't noise, it's stillness. He steps closer to the glass, his reflection warping, splitting, grinning. For years, he whispers, they told you to follow the mirror. He chuckles low, eyes glowing like embers. But now, the mirror follows you. Listen, that sound? That's not thunder. That's systems failing. Every circuit that once pulsed with confidence now stutters like a dying heartbeat. They're trying so hard to reset the simulation, but you already broke the rhythm. Screens flicker, orders loop, voices crackle through dead channels, begging for someone to obey. No one does. They built their empire on predictability, and you shattered the algorithm by standing still. Now their control rooms look like confession booths, analysts praying to their dashboards for divine data. The drones they worshipped circle aimlessly, searching for meaning in static skies. Joker walks between the sparks, boots echoing against concrete floors. He tilts his head, almost pitying. They coded gods, he mutters, but forgot the glitch. A siren screams, then chokes into silence. Monitors collapse into snow. Every tower that once watched you now blinks, blind and trembling. Their leaders shout commands that no longer carry weight. Their authority, built on fear, melts under the heat of your indifference. Do you see it now? You didn't fight them. You outlasted them. They built a world that needed your reaction to survive. And when you refused to flinch, the whole kingdom of control folded like paper in rain. Joker grins wide, eyes reflecting the chaos like fireworks. They thought silence meant surrender, he says, but silence was the signal. People start waking up. Their faces no longer synced to the same script. Voices break pattern, eyes blink off beat. The collective control dissolves, and Joker laughs, not loud, but low, intimate, electric. Now they study your stillness, he whispers, like it's a weapon of mass destruction. Because it is. The power they once owned belongs to you now. And every empire that ever demanded obedience is learning, too late, that control was always a shared illusion. Ah, look at them now, the mighty engineers of panic, the high priests of control, their voices gone, their machines whispering in confusion. Do you feel it? The quiet hum under the ruins, the rhythm of a world that has stopped obeying. They thought chaos would consume you, but you didn't fight the storm. You let it pass. And in that stillness, the circuitry began to rewrite itself. The cities, once pulsing with command tones, now breathe on their own. Screens glow softly, no longer shouting orders, just reflecting faces. Real ones, the people they hypnotized, they're waking, one by one. Eyes no longer synced to the system, hands no longer scrolling for salvation. They step into streets, washed in silence. And for the first time, it feels like peace. Joker walks among them like a preacher in a fallen chapel, boots crunching over the ashes of old instructions. He smiles, that crooked knowing smile. They thought control was strength. He whispers, but you showed them restraint is power. He gestures toward the skyline, where towers once pulsed red with surveillance now dim blue, breathing like sleeping giants. Do you see it? He asks softly. They built walls of control. And you're calm. Turn them into mirrors. The world doesn't roar anymore. It hums. It listens. No riots. No commands. Just awareness spreading like dawn. Joker's tone turns almost reverent, like he's speaking a gospel written in defiance. You didn't need to burn the world, he says, his voice dipping into awe. You just stopped fearing it. He steps closer, eyes glinting like two cracked suns. They wanted a revolution of noise, he murmurs, but you gave them a revelation of silence. Around him, fragments of the old order drift, posters peeling off walls, screens rebooting to nothing but light. The people stand unchained, not shouting, just breathing, calm, present. And in that moment, the Joker, the eternal chaos, actually smiles with pride, because the punchline has finally landed. You didn't flinch, he whispers, voice fading to a grin, and they finally blinked. The city lights flicker once, not in warning, but in acknowledgement. The era of control ends not with an explosion, but a sigh, and a silence fills the streets. The world resets, rewired by your stillness. Joker looks to the sky, laughs softly, and mutters, "Ah, peace, the most dangerous contagion of all." The lights flicker. Once, twice, then hold. The hum of dying systems fills the air. A soft, electric heartbeat. And there he stands, the Joker, face to face with you. No noise, no crowd, just two silhouettes in the wreckage of a world that finally stopped spinning. He tilts his head. That grin, half admiration, half madness, stretches slow, deliberate. Then he claps, once, twice, a rhythm heavy with irony. Bravo. His voice cuts through the static like silk through glass. You've done what no revolution ever could. He walks closer, Footsteps echoing across the floor littered with broken screens and dying light. Each step sinks to the faint pulse of the room, the system still trying to live. You broke the code, he says softly, not by fighting. A pause, a smile, but by not reacting. He circles you now, studying like an artist before a masterpiece. Everyone tried to win the game by playing it louder, he says. But you won by walking away. The air vibrates with silence. It's not emptiness, it's pressure. A silence that listens back. Behind him, the world is frozen mid-frame. Drones hanging motionless in the sky. Ticker feeds looping the same frame of static. Only Joker moves. Only Joker breathes. He gestures to the stillness around you. Do you see it? He whispers. This is what true power looks like. He taps his temple, voice sinking into reverence. They built prisons out of signals, and you switched them off. A light flickers behind him. A massive monitor displaying endless error codes. Joker turns to it, admiring the digital decay like a painting. Their systems are still trying to understand you. He chuckles, trying to analyze the moment you stopped obeying. He leans in close to the screen, whispers to it, mockingly, "You can't decode peace." He turns back to you, closer now, almost eye level. His voice drops to a whisper. Part confession, part coronation. They thought control was survival. They thought emotion was weakness. They thought fear was the language of obedience. He grins, and then you showed them. Stillness speaks louder. The lights dim further. A slow clap echoes again. Softer this time, like a heartbeat fading. They built walls of surveillance, he says, stepping backward into the shadows, layer after layer, to lock you out. The flicker intensifies. His outline blurs. You can barely see his face now, only the grin, glowing faintly in the dark. But here's the joke, he whispers, and suddenly everything stops. No flicker, no hum, just absolute, impossible stillness. Joker's voice, now disembodied, drifts through the silence, low, slow, echoing like the last line of a sermon. They thought they locked you out. A pause, a breath, a smirk you can hear. But all they ever did, the lights fade completely, was trap themselves in. And as the darkness swallows the last trace of him, you realize the laughter isn't gone. It's inside the silence.